This video is the expanded function of removal of excess cement, and this would include temporary cements and permanent cements. We're going to focus mostly on permanent cements because it's just really important for you to make sure that you have the right instrumentation and that sort of thing, okay? First, we're going to talk about the three different types of cements that you're going to be using for this procedure. Depending upon your doctor's preference, you might be using a zinc phosphate cement, you might be using glass ionomer cement, or you might be using polycarboxylate cement. Okay, so let's do a little review about how to mix these things, first of all. And the first one is zinc phosphate. And we're going to have a unique mixing condition here, which means that we're going to have the glass slab. So if you remember correctly, this is the only cement that's mixed on a glass slab, okay? And we're going to be using the brand Mizzi, the Flex brand, okay? And so the whole idea here is that, first of all, let's just go through the mixing steps, okay? We're going to be cooling the glass slab in order to allow you to incorporate more powder into the cement, which will give you an end product of a stronger mix, which is a good thing. Then we're going to make sure that we lay out enough powder for our mixing, and we want about the size and thickness of a nickel. And we would put that on one side of our slab, okay? And we would divide it out into about 16 equal little increments. Now, don't spend a lot of time, making sure that each one of these is exactly the same size. The main idea is to just make sure that you're getting small little increments and you're bringing them into the mixture one at a time, okay? Then the next thing, once you have the powder laid out, you would be dropping your drops of liquid, okay? Now, typically for a luting consistency for 1 crown, we would lay out 6 drops of liquid, okay? And remember, with the liquid, we have phosphoric acid in here, so we want to make sure that we shake it. It's kind of like oil and vinegar with salad dressings. You want to make sure that you shake it so that your drops are going to be having equal amounts of water and acid in it, not that your drops are going to have all, mostly water or mostly acid, okay? So you want to shake that well. Okay, so now let's just pretend you have the powder laid out and it's in the increments that we need. We have the 6 drops out, and now we're going to slowly quickly bring in each increment into the powder, into the liquid, and you're going to be mixing each increment for about 10 seconds, okay? You want to make sure that when you're mixing that you have a nice creamy consistency, okay? You don't want to have a lot of water or the liquid on the outsides, okay? So, and then it's this motion, okay? That motion, back and forth, and so on. Now, if we had the capacity of moving this camera around to different locations, I could mix this and I could show you, but right now mixing it in my hand is probably not the best idea. But you did have this last semester and you did a lot of mixing and practicing of it and evaluating. So just remember the increments. You would have size and thickness of a nickel. For the powder, you would want 6 drops for 1 crown, okay? And then you would gather this material pretty much together, and periodically you would try to check the consistency by having that cement raise or follow the spatula about 1 inch before it would divide or break. Okay, so like a string of about 1 inch from the height of the spatula to the slab. Okay? All right. So then the next one we're going to be using is the polycarboxylate cement, and that is going to be a little bit faster mixing, and this is mixed on a paper pad, okay? And our polycarboxylate or carboxylate cement is actually, the Duralon brand is the one we have here. That's a very popular one. Polycarboxylate probably isn't used as much as the next cement we're going to be talking about, just because this one has a very short mixing time, and if you don't mix it in that short period of time, it starts getting a little bit too thick to use for cementation. If you remember right, this is the cement that when you mix it, it gets hairy, like little hairs, and that typically indicates that you mix it too long. The cement gets mixed in about 30 seconds or less, okay? The zinc phosphate that we talked about just a few minutes ago gets mixed within 1 to 2 minutes, preferably about 1.5. With the Duralon, or the polycarboxylate brand, we also have the little powder scoop, okay? So you must use the powder scoop that comes with that particular brand. And then the last one of the three that we're going to be using for this procedure and evaluation is the glass ionomer. And the glass ionomer is probably it's a newest of the cements, and you're probably going to see this being used out in practice quite a bit, okay? This happens to be the SB brand, and it has its own little powder scoop as well, okay? All right,